there was a video package after this backstage segment of the Elite. And it seemed very, for comic book fans, Thanos-like, with the disintegrating of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They were going to the foundational moments of All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, a lot of footage of those moments. The press conference.
The winning of titles.
Yeah.
And those things disintegrating or evaporating, whatever you'd like to call it. And the last thing that you see is the AEW logo, and the E is then first taken away, and then so is the rest of the company.
Which is a subtle point, logo. Too, right? So the Elite was taken out first of All Elite Wrestling.
And
now,
then
could
the
that
rest
be
of it comes out. So, Tim, let's put on our booking hats, right? Let's have some fun here. What are we doing with the Elite? It looks like they're coming back. If I'm giving you the pencil, here it is. How are you writing this?
If you're giving me the pencil, how I'm writing this is Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and I think even Hangman. Maybe Hangman needs a little convincing, but
Hangman was in that. Hangman was in that.
He was in that right?
Video package.
I just think with current storylines, you know, I mean, it would take some work, a couple weeks to get Hangman, maybe, or unless that's a big reveal later as a shock and all, right? So anyway, what I'm getting at here is they're mad at Tony Khan. Like, wait a minute, I got suspended, bro. Like, dude, this was us. We brought this guy in later because we were like, hey, we just need something to get us over the top. Now you treat us like we're equals? He's suspended and we're suspended? Fuck him and fuck you. Like, you don't get to call this All Elite Wrestling anymore. It's because of us. So if you kick us to the curb, it's not Elite anymore. This is fucking,
it all falls apart.
Call it ROH or something. Like, whatever. Like, it sucks anyway, right? Like, and then he's like, I mean, no, I own the rights to All Elite Wrestling, right? Like, it says right here, like, sorry guys, let's work this out. And they're like, no, fuck you. We are going to burn this shit to we will rather watch it die than watch you take the fucking name. And so they're a la NWO, because I mean, they love to copy this. They're breaking shit. They're not letting matches happen. They're not letting fucking title changes go down. They're just like, fuck you. They're interrupting shit left and right, causing a ruckus until we settle it squared away. A hero comes along and saves All Elite Wrestling name from whatever.
I like that. I somewhat have the same idea that you do. So this is what I was thinking. Is the thing that caught my eye is how, again, with the logo of AEW, the E goes away first, and then the rest of it crumbles. I think that's a symbol
it's a key point. It's a very key point.
Yeah, I think that's a symbol of once you take us, the rest of this stuff falls apart, right? So what I would do, if I have the pencil, and here it is in my hand, I'm bringing them back as heels. But again, they're going to get cheered. I'm not bringing in Tony Khan. Tony Khan is too much of a wild card.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you have somebody in lieu of Tony Khan speaking.
Well,
in fact, that might be better. They're like, let us talk to Tony, and he was like, Tony has media to do later.
No, I'm not mentioning Tony
you're not even mentioning Tony Khan.
No, fuck him, because he's too much of a weirdo. I don't want him on screen. He's going to ruin the segment.
Oh, that's what I mean. This is how you don't get him on screen, is somebody else is speaking. They can't get to Tony Khan.
Right. But what I'm doing is I'm bringing them in. Again, here's the pencil. Like it or don't like it. # tweet the table. Let me know. What I'm doing is the Elite. I'm calling them the Elite because it's all three of them, right? The Elite cost Jon Moxley the championship at Full Gear. That's how MJF becomes your heavyweight champion, right? And the reason the Elite went after Jon Moxley is because the Blackpool Combat Club outside of Wheeler, Utah is all ex-WWE guys. And that's the fucking problem with AEW. So their beef is with all of these ex-WWE guys. The first couple years, when it was just us and Moxley didn't have Bryan Danielson, everything was great. Did you ever hear of anything going on backstage? Nothing. And then we added Danielson. And then we added Adam Cole. And then we added CM Punk. And then this stuff started falling to the ground.
Best storylines have kernels of truth, right?
Right. And then that's where you do Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club in the midst of this faction warfare, that's where the cracks are showing in the Blackpool Combat Club. You have that happen, whatever it is, but this is your storyline. I always like to involve everyone. I think it's more fun when everyone's involved, because when something's there, everyone has an opinion. And so it's weird for like someone to be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What is Kenny Omega doing? Like, everyone knows, right? If you want to get crazy, you put the line in the sand. Here's Blackpool Combat Club and the WWE way of doing pro wrestling. Here is the Elite and their way of philosophy on pro wrestling. You pick a side, and then you have teams. That's where we talked about this a few weeks ago, but that's how you can have teams break up. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, boom, they can go their separate ways because of this. Like, you can have it all go through. But I'm bringing them back as heels first, because they're going to get cheered. Well, because it's a surprise. Everyone loves a surprise, even if it's the damn devil who makes his debut, right? But I think once you give them the opportunity to talk, they're not strong on the mic, and the anti-elite guys, because they're still Punk fans, they ain't going away, are going to start to boo, and you just play into that. And then you could have a pick a side, right? You could like the Blackpool Combat Club. I could like the Elite. That'll never fucking happen. But you get what I'm saying? Like, that's where we could go with this. I think that's
you
more
have a Young Bucks shirt. It's not.
I got it from the AEW crate. I do have.
But you put it on.
Yeah, I do have a Kenny Omega.
You're like, look, I need to do some plumbing, so I put on.
Yeah. But I would even have them talk about how Jon Moxley's changed. I would have them say, we're going after the Blackpool Combat Club because Jon Moxley has changed with this WWE way, or they can say sports entertainment and even include like the JES, you know what I'm saying? But like, this company is going to shit because of those people coming here. We are better without them. And that's the fucking story.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I think either of these works. I just want, and this is kind of something you addressed. This was fun. I liked this Thanos snapping, like, because it's piqued my interest. What's going on? It's got up. Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Will they be heels? Will they be baby faces? What I don't want is another one of these videos with more moments next week with no furthering explanation, right? There better be something reminiscent of not reminiscent, but you know what I mean? Like along the lines of a mission statement or a purpose, something, right? Next week, give me something a little more. It doesn't have to be a whole lot more, but just advance something, because what we fear, and you brought up this fear to me offline, is similar to the Bray Wyatt situation. This could go on for weeks with no real advancement. It could just be
too much inside baseball.
Yeah.
It's too much inside baseball. Like, you know why we weren't here. Wink, wink, wink. It's like, no, my father-in-law just had hip surgery and he's bored. He's trying to watch some TV. I told him to watch AEW. He doesn't know what the fuck this means.
Yeah, I heard somebody bring this up, and I forget me where, right? It was on some sort of media that I consumed, where there's a lot of people who watch wrestling who never get on Twitter to follow it, never look up a dirt sheet, ever. So to them, maybe if they were like, oh, CM Punk, I heard he won the AEW championship, I'm going to check it out the next day. They tune in and they see Tony Khan being like, there was an incident, had to strip the title. They'll be like, okay, CM Punk's gone, I'm out, right? Like, they don't know this stuff, right? And maybe you kept a few around because they were like, the show was fun, but they don't know, right? Like, they may know vaguely that they were involved in something, but some people don't know, and they don't want to have to look it up. Right?
That's true. And that's why with the idea that I was thinking about is when you identify the other, because if you're a casual wrestling fan who has came across AEW, the chances are, I'm going to bet that you're aware of Chris Jericho. You're aware of Keith Lee. Again, you might not know those guys as far as like their number one match of their career or what titles they held, but you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen these guys before. And that's where the people you're not familiar with identify them as the enemy, and you go, well, wait a minute, I thought they were good guys. And then here we go, here's the interesting thing that could hook you. So in kayfabe, we've identified what really happened, right? So then the IWC and the dorks that are doing podcasts like us can be like, see what they're playing on? That one incident when Punk said that he was afraid that Hangman was going to shoot on him. That's what they played into this week, right? So we get our fix, but then the casual fan will be like, oh, they don't like the outsiders coming into a company that they started. That makes sense to me. I can understand that. Let's continue. So that's where you play it, because you have to address it. If you never address it and keep doing
yeah.
Fuck.
Well, because that's the thing here is, again, we don't fact check. I don't have a database here in front of me to look this up. But if I had to guess, I would say the majority of people who watch professional wrestling television in the United States, right? Maybe AEW skews a little more away from what I'm about to say here, but the majority of people who watch professional wrestling television product in the United States only consume the television product in the United States, right? They're not going on Twitter, like I said. They're not pulling up, Meltzer.com or whatever the fuck he's on. He's
Tim, I'll tell you this, just from my personal experience
or something, whatever the fuck he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you my personal experience just for me. I am married, and her family does a great job of trying to include me in conversations. So they will try, when they think about it, to go out of their way.
They really give it
wrestling.
a try. They're like, oh, we really got to involve Tom somehow.
Yeah, and so
he's not going to come up to what we're talking about, so we got to find something that he'll play.
Well, no, look, I'm watching Nebraska. I'm watching Nebraska football.
I know.
They're watching a little wrestling.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
So what I'm getting at, though, is when they come to me, right, the next gathering, we go over there for dinner or whatever, and my brother-in-law is like, explain this Orange Cassidy. Okay, well, that's fun. I can do that, right? Like it piqued his interest. I can explain who that is. But when they're saying Bray Wyatt, where did he go? What happened? Why? What's happened? Like when that's not explained, then I look like an idiot of like, well, just give it a little bit more time, because eventually, like, he's going to tell you why he left. And it's fucking dumb.
Can I say something, first of all, like outside of what, this is a pro wrestling podcast. We're talking about pro wrestling. We're talking about AEW Dynamite, but you brought up your in-laws, and I feel like I have to address how awesome these people sound now, that like they are on their own. Not like when you're at the house, they're like, all right, I guess we'll pull up this wrestling. They're like, Tom's in our family now. We want to engage Tom. And think about it. My family has shit on pro wrestling from the age of 3.
Yep.
And like, my wife won't even watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's just like, no, you do your fucking stupid show, do whatever makes you happy over there. This is amazing. And of course, I mean, your wife is amazing and is that kind of person as well. Tom,
I'm very lucky.
Are you telling these people that you're like, what wool have you pulled over their eyes?
I am very fortunate. But to get us back on track, when they are trying to get into something and they don't know what's happening,
and they're very smart people. Right. Another thing to say, like they are like top level intelligent people. So if they're not getting it, something's up.
And then on top of that, when I have to be the one that peels back the onion, the story isn't as good. It's better, right? If I were to tell you the plot of The Wire, I could tell you, but it's way cooler if you watch season 1 of The Wire.
Yeah. You ever have to explain a joke to somebody who didn't get it? It's just never funny, right? Like that's what's happening there.
And so if you have to explain the moment of why everyone freaked out, man, it's not as cool. It just isn't.